What is happening, Reject Nation? It's Greg Alba coming at your way. So while I was away in Colorado, The Defenders appeared on Netflix, meaning I could finally wear a Defenders shirt while talking about an episode of The Defenders. I'm going to be covering episode 1 and 2 today. I've stated multiple times on social media and here on YouTube that if you combine what's coming out in 2017 movies and TV shows, that The Defenders is what I've been anticipating the absolute most. And because I'm watching the show while in between doing other YouTube videos and doing stuff for Patreon and a bunch of other things too, I figured I'd just update you guys on my experience of watching the show instead of just doing a direct breakdown and review of every single episode. I mean, and the video's title review because essentially that's what it will be, but it's not. You'll see what I mean as I cover the episodes. So far, I've only watched 2 episodes, and I gotta tell you guys, man, a little let down. I feel like specifically with Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage, I was hooked within the first couple episodes of those shows. I would have a hard time turning off the TV and just going to sleep. I just had to binge watch it. I mean, this time around, they're combining all these characters, and yet, as the show was progressing, about 2 hours worth of television, I found myself less invested. I put out a tweet asking people what episodes of The Defenders have moments that are worth doing reactions to, and there's only about 3 or 4 episodes that people said are worth doing it for. And a lot of people actually came back with a response that the first few episodes are kind of boring. I just didn't believe that they would be. I really didn't. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, it kind of is a little dull. However, there's a big however, knowing the binging format that Netflix develops their TV shows for, I can tell that right now, only a couple episodes in, that it's just doing a lot of setting up, a lot of building up for when the Defenders officially assemble. Defenders assemble. We can say that. This is Marvel. Now, knowing the way YouTube retention rate works, most people have probably already clicked off the video by now because I'm just not that interesting. But if you're still here, allow me to go into some positives that I felt. There are definite aspects to this setup that I appreciate. The first episode, none of the main 4 heroes come together. It really is not rushing the team up. It's establishing Iron Fist solo mission, you know, trying to take down the Hand. Luke Cage getting out and readjusting to his new life as Harlem's hero. Matt Murdock is trying not to be Daredevil. And Jessica Jones is back to being an alcoholic who takes on a private eye case out of guilt and curiosity. These setups are all fine and quite necessary for where we last left these characters. And it's building up this mystery plot point of Sigourney Weaver's character Alexandra, whose introduction reminded me a bit of Wilson Fisk's, because she's the big baddie of the show. Yet in her introduction, we find out she's dying and she's in this very vulnerable state. Her first scene, she's just incredibly vulnerable. Similar to how when we first meet Wilson Fisk, he's in a very vulnerable state.
It makes me feel alone.
So this moment when we first meet Alexandra, I found interesting because she's immediately humanized. Because every scene following her after the moment with the doctor, she's pretty much what we expected her to be. She's really tough, she's really business savvy, she controls the room she's in, she's intimidating. And her dynamics with Madame Cho I find very intriguing as well, because Madame Cho, it's like the first time we're seeing she's definitely intimidated by this Alexandra character. And I'm still not entirely sure who Alexandra is or what she's even capable of completely doing. And the storylines for where the main Defenders characters are at, what they're currently doing, all that does make sense. And I feel like later on in the show, the first couple episodes will be even more rewarding, like after seeing the entirety of the series. But right now, the tonal shifts just don't quite work for me, because each one of these characters' solo shows have a very specific look and feel to them. Daredevil is the gritty vigilante story that has a red color tint. Luke Cage is the black exploitation heroic tale with like a yellow color tint to it. Jessica Jones is the film noir tale with like a blue. And then you got Iron Fist, which is just kind of bland with a blue tint to it, and you know, about a warrior trying to figure himself out, what he really has to do, who he has to be, you know Iron Fist. Anyway. So I feel like on paper, cutting back and forth between these 4 stories within the first couple episodes, that sounds really cool on paper. Because each time we cut to these characters, it's like their solo show is continuing. So for a setup, on paper, I know I keep saying that, that sounds great. But in terms of watching a series, the tonal balance is kind of frustrating because it just doesn't feel balanced well. Each one of these characters has a specific show that have very specific vibes, and whenever they do these like weird transitions to these characters, I find myself as a viewer having to readjust my viewing experience. Have you guys ever seen Cloud Atlas? I sort of feel like I'm having a similar experience. Cloud Atlas is this multi-story film where they cut back and forth between several stories. And that format can work. For example, a film like Crash cuts around between several storylines. But it's not a weird or uneven viewing experience because the storylines and the way they're shot and tonally They're similar enough. Whereas Cloud Atlas was this movie where they cut around to several different stories that all feel and look like completely different movies. And that's sort of how I feel about the Defenders right now. I mean, the good thing about the Defenders is that they're all stories about being heroes. So it won't be hard to adjust when they all finally come together. But the tone and vibe of each of their stories is so different. It's like when they finally cut to Matt Murdock, I have to readjust. Then it takes me a bit of time to get into the feel and the tone and the story of Matt Murdock. Then after I'm into it, they cut to a different character, then I'm doing the whole readjusting experience all over again. And this was a consistent issue I was finding. It's essentially the main reason why I'm having a hard time just feeling the show, allowing myself to just be fully engrossed. And more importantly, being emotionally hooked by the experience. For the most part, it's all interesting, I'm just not, my heart's not fully in it. Because I feel like I'm watching a show where the writer's room is struggling to find a balance between 4 other shows. I guess what I would have liked for this show to do is find a unique look and tone for the Defenders series. That's what made the first Avengers movie work so well. Joss Whedon was able to find a tone and a look that is unique specifically for the crossover movie. Here, it's just cutting back and forth between different shows instead of finding a look and tone for this specific crossover series. And also, I'm finding the build-up and the personal drama to be a little stretched out. I mean, for a season that's only 8 episodes long, I could use build-up for sure, but not so much stretching shit out. Daredevil is easily my favorite character out of the 4 Defenders. And I totally get that Matt feeling guilty is one of the things that Matt Murdock does as the Catholic boy that he is. But my issue with the story here is we all know he's gonna be Daredevil again. There's no need to build it up so much. Watching him have tension with Foggy and Karen is just kind of repetitive to me. I mean, I still love Charlie Cox's performance, and I still love seeing Foggy and Karen. But after episode 1, it sort of just starts to feel like, can we pick this up a little bit already? And then there's the mystery plot of what Jessica Jones is investigating and what Luke Cage is investigating. And I feel the potential of the plot, and I feel that it's building up to the 4 of them coming together, that all their plots are obviously going to coincide. But I also feel like we're watching a plot without personal investment in the main plot. Jessica Jones season 1 works so well because the plot of her mission is she's setting out to find Kilgrave, a man who raped and used her. Luke Cage has a personal vendetta against Cottonmouth and a personal relationship with Harlem. And their stories in the Defenders have a mystery element, yes, but not a personal element to them, if that makes sense. And Danny Rand, he's essentially doing the same shit he did in Iron Fist. And while I think Finn Jones thus far is doing a decent job, I would say he's probably doing a better job than he did in Iron Fist. He's still easily the most boring part of the Defenders. The Alexandra storyline is sort of intriguing right now. If anything, I wanted them to do what they do with Kilgrave and Wilson Fisk, where you build her up and then we get to see who she is and then we get to see what she's really doing. Right now, the show is showing me what she's doing, but I don't really know what the hell she's doing. It's just kind of confusing. So it just feels like a lot of questions with not a strong feeling of personal investment. A lot of build-up for a show that I don't think needs this much build-up. There's some great character moments, there's some good action moments. The fight between Luke Cage and Danny Rand was pretty cool. Matt Murdock fighting those people in the streets was kind of cool too. And overall, I still really like the performances of pretty much everyone involved, especially Matt Murdock, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage. But I guess because of the tonal shifts that keep happening and the lack of personal investment in the main plot that it's building towards, and let me clarify, I don't think it's 100% void of personal investment. That's why there's all this buildup and personal life drama these characters are having. That's where all like the personal elements come into play. I just think what made the first 3 shows work so well was the personal drama combined with the main plot having personal stakes as well. So that way everything feels personal and emotional. And I can see the plot getting more personal for Matt Murdock because Elektra is working for Alexandra right now. She looks like she's under some kind of mind control, so I can see that when Matt Murdock gets involved, it's going to get more personal because Elektra's involved. And the confessional scene he had was, you know, very big setup for all that to happen. This is currently, I know I'm only on the first 2 episodes. I feel these characters have personal drama, but not enough dramatic investment in the main plot that will cause these 4 to come together. Like I said at the beginning of this spiel, I know this is all building up, this is all setting up, so by the time the show kicks into gear, I'm sure it'll all be worth it in the end. And it'll probably make the first 2 episodes even better. That's where I stand right now. I'm currently disabling comments for just a little while after Game of Thrones is done and after I'm caught up on the Defenders, because I've seen videos that are not Defenders linked and not Game of Thrones linked, but people are still putting spoilers in there. It pisses me off. And so I'm just currently disabling comments right now. If you have any video requests, hit us up on Facebook or on Twitter. Those usually work better. better anyway. Yeah, I'm still looking forward to finishing the show. I'm just a little let down that the first couple hours of the show were kind of dull. I hear episode 3 starts really kicking things in a much faster pace, and so I'm looking forward to it. You can subscribe to The Real Rejects, click that notification bell, follow me at the Greg Alba on Insta and Twitters, and check out our Patreon for exclusive perks and goodies over there. Having a lot of fun, yay!